sometimes I get a little bit upset and go like, just come on, just show yourselves, right? I mean, you're just floating around here and doing whatever you want on Earth, and we're like these monkeys or whatever. Just if you want to be around here, just show yourself, right? Because there's something about people or someone being in the shadows, not showing themselves. And you can make all kinds of excuses, like we're not morally fit, we're monkeys. There are all these excuses for why we're not good enough. But I don't like that. We're good enough. We're good enough for our planet, okay? We do a lot of mistakes and of wars and, environmental and all that kind of stuff. But there's something about, someone working around in the shadows, and I don't like it. It's like a red flag for me.
UFOs or UAPs are often attributed just to USA. But actually, I would dare to say that almost every European country has its mind-twisting UFO cases. That way it goes for Czech Republic, and the same way, I'm sure, goes for Norway. And that's something we will talk about today. And it is my honor that I can introduce to you all Renate, leader of organization UFO-Norway. Hello Renate, can you hear me? How's it going today?
Hello, Jan. I can hear you very well. I'm doing very fine, thank you. Although I do feel a bit of a sore throat, getting a cold or something. But other than that, I'm fine. So I might be coughing a little bit, but you can't get infected over the screen, so I guess.
Yeah, don't worry about that. So I'm very curious about the organization you have created because I feel that each of European country don't really know about each of others' UFO cases and so on. I mean, we know about Britain, we know about maybe some cases in the bigger countries, but for instance, I doubt that other countries know some Czech UFO case. So how's it going in Norway in this kind of matter?
Yeah, well, we do have some interesting cases, of course, and we do also have reports coming in. We can have about how much was it? About 2 reports coming in each week in Norway, but of course there are the quality of the observations are of course very different. They vary a lot. They can go from just being light in the sky and have a very natural cause. So, and the organization that I am a leader of, we do have a report system where you can go on our website and you can report a sighting. So, so when I calculated, I saw approximately 2 a week through the year. Yeah. So we have people looking into it and giving feedback on what they've seen. And often it has a natural cause, or often it's lack of data, of course, as it is for many other observations. So my organization is not the one, I did not establish this organization. It was established when I was not even born. It was actually in the 70s. And then the organization has changed name and it has changed location. So there's been a lot of different ways this organization has been big or small, or a cooperation of more organizations, and further on. I kind of guess like in the 80s or something, it kind of accumulated to this organization, and then it changed name to NUFOS, Norwegian UFO-Organisation, and then last year we changed it back to UFO-Norway. So sometimes you will see this NUFOS hanging like in the internet because it's still not changed. It's a process. So we've been around for over 40 years, but I've just been a leader for 7 months or so. So I'm pretty new to that. We do have one in the board who's been with us for, I think, I don't know, maybe 20 years, but he has a lot of knowledge on old cases. So he's still in the board. So we are only 5 people in the board. But we do have a couple of other people who also help with the reporting central and other things. So we do have a Facebook page. On the Facebook page, we have over 2,000 members. So we would want every one of those to be paying members. Unfortunately, not all of them are paying members, but you know, it's not a price to be on Facebook. So, but we have around 300 paying members, and we also give out a magazine 4 times a year, where we put in the most interesting cases that we have received through our reporting central, or other things that are happening in the United States or other countries around the world to give people information. You know, you'd think that the English language would not be a barrier, but we see that actually in some of the older generations that the language is a barrier, so that they're not on, they don't follow it on X or other English channels. So some people, the older generation, are reliant on our organizations to get them to get the newest information. And of course, we are on X as well. And yeah.
And the organization is just a public domain, or are you connected to some scientist or government, or are you just the people who are into it, how to say, are interested and not really supported by other institutions?
No, we're a standalone organization. We would want to have cooperation, of course, with both politicians and scientists and so forth. And we would also want to have, what do you call it, financial support from the government. I know there's been people have tried that previously, but we haven't really succeeded. So, but that's something we're looking into, and we want to see if we can cooperate with other people or other organizations as well. So it's just a matter of finding the right buttons to push and allocating enough time to make that happen. But it has been an organization that has been a standalone organization for a long time. I think I could be wrong, but I think we're the only UFO organization in Norway. There might be some small organization that's local that I'm unfortunately not aware of, but I think we're the only organization in Norway.
And I wonder, what kind of sightings do you usually have? I noticed that in Norway, I didn't know that before today, there are no nuclear plants. So in this kind of matter, it is a bit different, because sometimes UFOs are attracted to these. And in Czech Republic, we actually have 2 of them. So is it more sightings with the sea or at the mountains or crop circles, or what do you report most, or what is typical for UFOs in Norway, maybe?
The most common, of course, is lights in the sky that move erratically. Yeah. So there could also be satellites that people report, but that is the most common one. But of course, we do have sightings where people see actual craft and moving around in the sky. You can't say that it's something else, because it's apparent that it's a craft, but they're not very common. But it's an interesting question. We should have make a statistics on that, actually, to see how much and categorize them. It's a good, yeah, we should do that. So far we haven't done that, but it's mostly lights in the sky. We do not have crop circles. I cannot say that we have that. Someone might arrest me and say, no, we do have one crop circle happening at, you know, I don't know, 10 years ago. I don't know, but it's not common. I've never heard of it myself. So, but I don't study the crop circle phenomena as much in detail either. So someone else has to say that. Yeah.
For us, I guess you are right. Yeah, most common are some lights in the sky, and often people just suddenly write me, hey, I saw this on the video, what could it be? And often it's really kind of impossible to say because they were the ones who saw it and they were the ones to record it. They know the most information.
I mean, if you zoom in on the brightest star in the night sky, you can say it looks like a UFO, because when you look at the camera, it kind of flickers and it looks like it moves, and it's like, yeah, it could be anything. Fortunately. But we do not have any nuclear weapons or nuclear facilities, so yeah. There's talk about getting them actually in nearby where I live, so we'll see. But that's going to take another 10, 15 years before that's going to happen. So
Yeah.
not atom bombs, but nuclear power plants. We'll see.
Yeah. And so you have more different, I guess, perspective. And I heard you tell that there are some even USOs, the underwater UFOs. What is your experience with that? We obviously don't have any experience here in Czech Republic. So what is that like to hear a report about it? What people say, or is it just military personnel talking about it?
USOs are not very commonly reported at all, because that's to report a USO, I think then people would have to watch it come out of the ocean. And I haven't heard of a story yet where someone has seen that. It's probably happened. I'm just not very good at all the history of different reportings, but to actually see something on the water and see it on radar, that would have to be, I guess, military equipment or, yeah, we don't have that. There's this one story that's circulating that maybe it was a USO, but I don't know. It might as well have been a Russian submarine, but they kind of chased it inside this fjord and it disappeared. That's what they say. But that could have been a Russian sub, and maybe they just let it out because they didn't want the hassle with the diplomacy, with all the political, troubles it would have been. Who knows? So, but it's not a big thing, USOs. You would think so because we have a long coastline. But we have some, we have some reports of these Scandinavian ghost rockets, and some of those landed on water or crashed on water. We don't really know. So there's a lot of there was a period in the 40s where a lot of were reported around water and going into the water. Me personally, I don't think they necessarily crashed. I just think they went under and became USOs. But we would see them going into the water. Yeah.
And what does your organization, what your group is working on mostly? Are you mostly just trying to gather data and analyze them? Or are you also working in the fields? Are you doing CE5 or any of these things?
Mostly we work with a magazine, and we work on the reports that come in. And of course, we have some projects that we want to execute. But, we're all just people who have normal lives and normal jobs and families. So we just don't really have enough time to do all the things we want to do. So we keep joking about how we're all trying to win the lottery, so that when we win the lottery, we would donate money and we could be working with this full time. But, it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. But that's mostly what we do. CE5, we do not do that. Maybe someone else. I know there's been people who have done that, but it's not something that our organization organizes or puts up events or anything like that. No, we do not. Although I know that someone has experience with that. Myself, I do not, but I know that others have experienced it.
And I wonder, for what kind of proof are you as a group trying to find? Some like videos or some other data? Because, for instance, here, actually CE5 is quite popular in the UFO community in Czech Republic. We do CE5 at least once per year, and it's always really nice. I mean, the night under the sky is it's just so beautiful to see it. So what is your aim to get? Like maybe even like, what is the goal for your organization? Maybe is the question.
Yeah, our goal is mostly just be there for the public, I guess, to try and answer the questions that the public has. To be honest, I think that the government should have this public support, because there's a lot of people who see it. So somebody should be on the other line who's actually in the government and say, okay, this is what it is, yeah, so that's what we do. And we try to, of course, we want to find out what it is, and we want to spread information about it. We want to help people understand. But also we want to see if we can do something, in the political sphere. Maybe we can have some coalitions with the scientists, see if we can have a collaboration. So there's a lot of angles and a lot of things that we can do. We just really have to find the time and make it more tangible. So, but mostly we're an information group. And also one of the members, board members, he is very interested in in categorizing and having these data, a storage of data of reports. So there's a lot of work going on to get all these reports and getting them categorized and putting them in years, and so that you can search for them. So, and also there's a collaboration with UFO Sweden because they have the biggest filing system in electronic and also in maps, I think, or in folders. So I know there's cooperation with that. So that's something that one of the board members has a lot of passion for, getting all of these information and getting all the information that we have, and so that everyone can search and find it. And of course, if there's a big sighting, we would absolutely go out into the field. Unfortunately, most of our reporting does not leave any trace or anything for us to investigate. You know, if someone sees lights in the sky, that's what it is. We can't really do any field work on that. But if something lands, of course, we would do the field work and we would go to the site. But they're few and far between, unfortunately. So there's not a lot of that going on. We're only 5 million people in Norway, 4.5 and 5 million people in Norway. So we're a small population. We're not that very, our country is not that large. And also I calculated that we're only, 14 people per square kilometer. Yeah, so there's a lot of areas and a lot of not eyes looking at the skies, because there's a lot of vast, areas of no one. So we're not very densely populated, and I guess that's also part of why maybe we don't see more than maybe we could. Yeah. We would want more action, absolutely, but we can't fake it, right? You can't fake it till you make it when the UFO sightings.
Yeah. And do you also get some reports of really close encounters, that something lands down and somebody comes out, or some contact with beings, whether it is whichever looking being, or ET or NHI, right? I just kind of realized that sometimes people categorize ET beings into Greys and Nordic. So Nordics, are there Nordic people? Is it you, or is it some UFO phenomenon from your country?
There has been sightings, of course, of people seeing, entities in crafts. But there's not a huge mass of people who report sightings of craft on the ground and seeing entities. That's rare. I have one story I can tell, but I don't have any proof about it. It's just a story. I like the story. It's kind of corny, but I have heard stories about it, but I've also heard they're not like really good, like solid cases. There's mostly, people seeing things and experiencing things alone. Like you have abduction cases and that kind of thing, where you have something in a craft and coming out, and a lot of people are seeing it simultaneously. No, it's not really that much. And I also think that if there are abductions happening, I think that maybe they have their own group that's connected to abductions. We were actually talking about this on our last meeting, that we should investigate and see if we could get in contact with them. But I'm not sure if it actually exists. But there's not a lot of information telling us in our organization that I've seen and I've contacted, I've been abducted and such. I think maybe because, maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it doesn't happen a lot, or maybe it's stigma. I don't have I don't have the answer to that. But it's not like in America where you hear it a lot. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen in Norway. I'm saying people are not very vocal about it, and people are just not vocal about the UFO topic at all in Norway. So there's a lot of stigma. And of course, if people experience that, I would think that they would keep them to themselves. I mostly. I don't think would be a lot of support. I don't think they would know where to go, to be honest.
I mean, we had an organization here in Czech Republic called Projekt Záře. I guess it could be translated as Project Glow or something like that. And that project was looking into I guess they had quite similar approach as you. And for instance, one of my friend who was part of the group, he was trying to get to talk to the abductees and so on. And the leader of the UFO group was not happy about it. And then he had some problems and they didn't really want to, they just wanted to focus on one part of UFO, which I guess is fine. I mean, the UFO topic is quite vast, so why not to have more groups to look into different types of things that happen? And yeah, so I guess it is quite stigmatized, but I mean, I know that his work, he is called Karel Rashin. He, when he was talking to the abductees, he told me that it really helped the people that they were able to tell it to someone, that they kind of put it away from their hearts, or how to say it. And they also had a psychotherapist who helped them a bit to get away the stress and the trauma. So even though they didn't validate the things, what if it was just something mental or something real, it was still nice that he gathered some stories. And actually, I guess the biggest nice thing is that he helped the people who were kind of struggling with this issue, because it is very stigmatized.
Yeah, I guess, to be honest, I don't think I would try CE5, because I'm not quite sure I would want to. I don't know what's going to happen, right? So that's I mean, people, do it if you want and if you wish, but I'm kind of skeptical because I don't know what you're attracting if there's actually something to it. So yeah.
We could get to some interesting cases in
Yeah.
in our countries. So would you like to start, or should I?
Yeah, I will start with since we talked about if there's a story where someone saw someone, entities. So this is of course a story, and can't validate it and say this is 100% true. I cannot, but so you have to take it for what it is. This is a story from Leif Vinja. The wife of Inga Vinja remembers well how her husband behaved at the day he came home. I was cooking for him, she said, but noticed that Leif was a bit strange when he came in. He told me he had experienced what he had experienced, but he promised me never to tell it further. Now, this story was the person, I think he was interviewed by someone in my organization. This is a long time ago, so about 10, 15 years ago. So it's not just some anonymous person writing in or saying something. Someone has been interviewed and it's been found credible. So Leif Win, yeah, he was a driver and he had transported some goods from one place to another on the south side of Ytterøya, an island in the Trondheimsfjord. With a few sheets of paper from the shop in hand, he walks out and goes back to the van. As he rounds the front of the car, he meets a small figure walking straight towards him. The figure was about 1 to 1.2 meters tall and dressed in a bright blue suit. It had a head, hands and feet like us humans, but the figure was smaller and the suit resembled an overall. The two stood about 2 to 3 meters apart. Both stopped abruptly when they spotted each other. According to Vinja, the figure turned around, almost a military turnaround, like when a soldier marches. The figure raised its knees and bent its hands at the elbows, while the upper arm hung almost straight down along the body. The little man in blue is said to have then got into a small vessel which was parked behind the shop. The craft stood on 3 legs, was flat underneath and curved on top like a hemisphere. The diameter was about 2 meters. According to Leif Vinja, there were 2 figures inside the vessel. They were exactly the same and completely synchronously turned their heads and stared at him with intense and piercing eyes. The vessel then flew towards the north. According to Arnulf Løken in UFO-Norway, 1,000 thoughts went through the driver's mind on Ytterøya this summer day. Is it dangerous? Is it radiation? There were many thoughts going through his mind, because Vinje had never had anything to do with UFOs or extraterrestrials before. Nevertheless, this became a concern for him. So that's one story where someone saw something.
Interesting one.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have the UFO ring that I'll have to share because you have to see the... Okay, so this is the UFO ring. You can see it, you see it, the helicopter is standing right in front, inside the UFO ring. And this is a circle that measures 63 meters in circumference and a diameter, and has a diameter of 14 meters in the north-south direction and 25 meters in the east-west direction. The groove that forms the ring itself maintained a fairly even width of 25 to 30 centimeters all the way around. And the depth of the groove is about 5 to 10 centimeters. So the black and white picture is from when it happened, and the ring below is from now. So that's been there for 40 years. And it's the same, the ring is still there. So the story goes like this. There's only 87 people that live on Aspevar, a peaceful, idyllic island on the coast of Hordaland. Off the beaten track, around 20 meters walk from the snowboat dock, is the plain Åkrevé. So this is the plain Åkrevé. On a moonlit autumn night in 1975, the tanker the boat tanker Norskjell was sailing in the area, and the captain and sailors saw strange lights above Aspevar. Torfinn Vestvik was the sailor and reports. I was on board. I saw the lights, but it was dark, and suddenly there was a strong flash of light over the north end of Aspevar. Both the captain and I reacted. It was like a flash. It was a very special color of the light, a sharp bluish light, like when you light a Primus. I've never seen anything like it. Another witness, Anna Solvang, on a neighboring island, reported that she had seen 2 unidentified objects in the area. She woke up one night to the electricity meter suddenly racing at top speed, and through the window she saw 2 flying objects of bronze-like color that could look like 2 cone-shaped houses standing side by side as they flew over. They hovered and moved with little speed and were visible for 2 to 3 minutes before they disappeared behind the forest. As soon as the object had disappeared, the meter fell back to the normal rate. A 4th witness on the island could tell of a circular or possibly oval object. It was silvery, shiny, and maybe 10 meters or so in diameter. They established the height to be around 3 meters at the most. Elle Tollevik, a lady who had the house on the island that was closest to Åkrevé field, around 300 meters away, said that she woke up to the family's otherwise calm dog, Toby, growling and being restless. He did not want to give up, and he held up barking for a couple of hours. The dog's unusual behavior made her get up and go around the house and check, and everything was fine. But I only checked the front of the house. It was perhaps stupid since the UFO ring is at the back of the house, says Tollevik. What do you think it was? The reporter said. She answered, I have never believed in anything extraterrestrial, but a psychic predicted that they would come back again. Then I bought curtains. Curtains? Yes, said Elsa, so I wouldn't see them if they came back. The tracks were described as smooth with a curved profile. Like I said, the depth varied from 6 to 10 centimeters. The grass inside the ring was said at the time to have been pressed hard together and laid in one direction all the way around, as if something had rolled it down. It was said that the smaller stones had apparently been pushed into the ground and that there were scratch marks on some of them. The ground on the site is stony and sandy and is therefore very hard. The fact that enormous pressure is indeed needed to create such an extensive recess in the ground was fully demonstrated when a Sea King helicopter from the Air Force landed in the middle of the ring in connection with the Army's investigation a little later in April. The approximately 8-ton helicopter made no imprint or no footprint. Calculations that have been carried out concluded that the object, if it was an object, must have weighed more than 50 tons.
So basically, it was something that came there and made marks on the ground, and then it disappeared immediately.
Well, maybe. Well, it's said that the dog, if you trust the dog, always trust the dog, then it apparently barked for a couple of hours. So, you know, I don't know if there was some kind of electric technological things that, you know, could be in irritation to the dog. You know, maybe he heard some sounds and he would be barking for hours because of that. But yeah, but no one actually saw it when it was on the ground. That's the most famous one we have. There's actually, like, the ring is still there, and if you're visiting Norway and you're driving up the coastline, you will see this sign that says UFO ring that way.
Hmm.
So yeah.
And so you have come there with your group and investigated the place. So did you find something interesting, or was there something that caught your attention about the things you saw in the marks, or?
Well, this is over 40 years ago. So the soil was investigated and they were taking samples of the soil.
Mm.
As far as I know, they couldn't find anything. But actually, that we were thinking about maybe reinvestigating this and see if we could, you know, maybe sometimes when you investigate a case, you don't have the right equipment at
Mm.
that time, and maybe you have it now. So that's something we're looking into and see if we can reinvestigate some of this and see if we can get more data on this case, see where the earth samples are and such.
And did you visit it yourself? Have you been there or not
Actually, I have not, and it's a shame because it's
yet?
just a couple of hours from where I live.
Of
So,
course, it's kind of.
but still, yeah, absolutely, I should go there, but not so far. No.
Hmm. Okay, that's a really interesting case. I don't think we have anything like this in Czech Republic. So,
Yeah, I mean, where else can you find a UFO ring that you can see today? They're not that common. I've heard about it other places, but I don't really remember where it was. Yeah, it's one of them. I have, of course, another kind of funny story as well, and that's this is it's a major in the Air Force that says when he was working at a radio station in the 50s, there were a lot of abnormal radio returns. It's kind of like you see today. When they go
Mhm.
up with the jets, they disappear. And if they try to look at them with their equipment, they go away immediately. They had a lot of that, he reported, but that's like in the 50s. That's a long time ago. But he had a funny story, and that was, and I will say it. This is the major telling the story. It was an autumn day in the late 1950s. Suddenly, I picked up an echo that flew in the same speed as a jet plane. Since it was not on the flight plane, I sent up an F-84G Thunderjet to identify the aircraft. The pilot climbed up and flew above the clouds. On the way back, one of them discovered a large red ball. It flew against the wind at an altitude of about 5,000 feet. The pilot could not identify the object, but he was a fearless fellow and said he would fly through it. Thus, he flew the fighter plane towards the red ball. The moment he touched it, it disappeared. It also disappeared from radar. When he landed, the whole plane, except from the plexiglass, was colored red. The plane was dismantled and the plates were sent to the most famous universities and research stations around the world, but no one was able to identify the die. Yeah. So that would also be interesting, but I don't know, you keep that kind of big plates from the 1950s? I doubt it, but it would be interesting to see. I don't know what the most famous universities and research stations around the world was in the 1950s, you know, but to find that would also be interesting.
Okay, I guess this one is also really interesting one. I mean, I never heard something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the ones that I've got.
So if you like, I can present you one Czech case. This UFO incident, it was at a dam, but actually the UFO was flying quite a long distance. It came from Austria and came to Czech Republic and went on and on. And it is from 1987, and the whole case is the most famous one in Czech Republic. So this is the place where it was most seen by the general public, because this is a dam where people come and enjoy their time. They go and swim a bit or sunbathe. And it was during July, so of course there were quite a few people there. And basically we're talking about a UFO which we would call Tic Tac today. But at that time, the pilots and other people, they more said like it's kind of like cigar, but with silver cover or something like that. And approximately it was like 10 or 15 meter long. And actually we have quite a lot of evidence for this case, because there is radar data, and not just from Czech Republic, but also from the neighbor countries. 3 direct military witnesses from the helicopter, but also some other who were in the mission to investigate this case, and also many witnesses at the dam. And this is just the illustration. Of course, there is no photo from that time, unfortunately. This is the helicopter that was trying to take on the UFO. So we know exactly which type of helicopter it was. And this is one of the witnesses who was inside the helicopter. And so now this is, I guess, the most important part. So the object came from Austria, and here is the dam, the Vranov Dam. And what is quite important to realize, that really close to the dam, or the place over the UFO went, there is a nuclear site. And also when it went on and on to Slovakia, there was another nuclear site. So that's quite interesting. So the army got information that from Austria there came over some unknown object, and that they should investigate it. So the helicopter started and was following it. It even got quite close to it in some moments, but it didn't follow it outside of Czech Republic because it didn't have enough fuel. And actually the UFO was showing the 5 observables. So I mean, I'm not sure if all of the 5 observables, but definitely the sudden and instantaneous acceleration. There was no hypersonic boom, and the 3, 4, and 5, I guess it may be or it might not be, but the first 2 are definitely true. The speeds were really odd. That was what was really weird about this case, that sometimes that object was more slow, and then suddenly really much faster. And kind of this was the reason that one of the leaders in the army, he got a bit, he lost his nerves or something, and he kind of said, you should shoot it down because it is weird. But actually that was not a good idea. It would be illegal to shoot down something you don't know what it is. And also there were people on the ground at the dam. So the people at the helicopter decided not to do it, and I guess it's a good thing they didn't do it. And the UFO went on and on. It disappeared at Hungary. It went up and disappeared. So it is quite interesting that we had a Tic Tac UFO here in Czech Republic. I'm sure you know about the Italy case and the USS Nimitz, but who would know that in the Central Europe we also had a quite interesting case and actually many witnesses and many reports from the military. So maybe the UFO phenomenon is kind of worldwide in terms of the tic tacs.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the case I had.
When you have that kind of technology and it goes so fast, it's, the world is just, I don't know, like a neighborhood, right? Because it goes so fast, so it can be anywhere. Yeah.
What was the most weird about it is the changes in the directions and the really weird accelerations.
Mm.
And actually, the people who were investigating it were super big skeptics, like kind of think about Mike West or something like this.
Yeah.
And they didn't find any reason I mean, any explanation that
No.
would fit this. So I guess this one is really the best Czech case we have.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that it would be just, I fantasize about having that technology and being able to not fly it because I'm not a pilot, but just being inside it and just traveling, anywhere. That would be so fantastic for
Yeah.
the world to be able to utilize that technology. I think about it. I don't travel to America a lot, but when I do, I sit on the plane and I go, Jesus,
Oh.
how fast could I actually fly over to America from Europe? So yeah, it's irritating. Yeah.
But you know, I kind of get a sense that some part of people who investigate UFOs are kind of into spirituality and so on, and others are more into the technical details and the cases. I mean, I'm kind of into both,
Mm.
but I see a quite important thing that I guess people in the spiritual field kind of want to make people understand that we should first kind of develop spiritually and morally, because otherwise, if we would have such technology, I don't know if it would end up really well in terms of it could be misused. So.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I hear that a lot, and it's not that I disagree. I agree to some point, but
Hmm.
it's also I'm more of the nuts and bolts kind of person. But that when I'm saying that, that does not mean that I dismiss everything that has to do with spirituality and these things. The only thing that I worry about is that you I don't know, I get this sometimes I get this feeling that it kind of goes so close up against religion and faith, that for me it gets kind of, I wouldn't say scary, but I get very wary about that.
Yeah, I get it.
So I do agree with you, but I try to keep it a bit at a length distance, because I don't know, I understand the idea that, if we develop morally and spiritually, this would connect, or we could get more information. But I don't know. There's so many other things about it. There are many stories that are not necessarily positive,
Hmm.
people experience, and people say, well, what you give is what you get, and give in and out. But I can't really get that to fit. I just want all of this to be positive. I want everyone to be happy. I want all of this. I also have to say I do work in the military as well, so I have this military mind as well. And of
Hmm.
course, I'm not saying that everything is a threat, but I'm very skeptical.
Yeah.
I would want, flowers and rainbows and spirituality. I would want that, but I'm very skeptical. And it doesn't really add up for me that all of this is, what is it, benevolent? Yes, benevolent, right? It doesn't quite compute with me. I'm more thinking that if this really is, non-human intelligence, I'm leaning towards them being both benevolent and malevolent, kind of like us humans. We're both good and bad. And yeah, so I know about that kind of part of the phenomenon myself. I know people who are into this, and I have conversations about it, but I'm not the right person to have a lengthy conversation about that.
No, actually, I have a similar view as you do. I mean, I feel that individuals are individuals. I mean, it works between us humans that some people are not really right-minded, some are more different thinking in more harm ways. And actually, it is similar with the animals too. When you have, for instance, cats, then some cats are quite friendly, some are not. So maybe if it's interspecies here on Earth, it probably is also in the outside in the universe. But what I am sometimes thinking about that if there would be some like huge risk about the UFO or ETs, that most of the UFO civilizations that they would first kind of destroy themselves, as we sometimes also have a tendency to do,
Mm.
or that if they would be really not nice towards our planet and towards us, that it would already happen. Yes, there are some stories who are a bit scary and not so not looking very I mean at least looking neutral, so could be that way or either way. And for instance, I understand that some people are criticizing Lou Elizondo, that he's saying, yeah, let's be afraid, let's start to make a war with ETs, but it's not really like this. And as I read his book, I do understand his perspective, even though I don't agree with everything. But I get it. He says basically that we don't have 100% guarantee that they are benevolent or 100% guarantee that they are not benevolent. So let's be prepared for both
Mm.
possibilities.
Mm. Yeah, I agree totally. Like he also says, when you like calculate or how do you call it, analyze a possible adversary, it's capabilities times intent, right? So the capability is there, the intent we don't know. And also what I find is that sometimes I realize that I kind of get a bit tired about speculating a little bit about who they are and what their intent is, because sometimes I get a little bit upset and go like, just come on, just show yourselves, right? I mean, you're just floating around here and doing whatever you want on Earth, and we're like these monkeys or whatever. Just if you want to be around here, yeah, just show yourself, right? Because there's something about people or someone being in the shadows, not showing themselves. And you can make all kinds of excuses, like we're not morally fit, we're monkeys. There are all these excuses for why we're not good enough. But I don't like that. We're good enough. We're good enough for our planet. Okay, we do a lot of mistakes and of wars and environmental and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to belittle us either and go like, oh, we're these like bacterias and they're like these super whatever. I don't like that analogy. I'm like, no, we're on this planet. We're kind of, we do a lot of good stuff too, and just kind of just there's something about someone working around in the shadows, and I don't like it. It's like a red flag for me. When
Mm.
that's said, I don't want, yes, I'm from the military. Doesn't mean I do not want to go to war with ET. So that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, like with every countries, even countries in NATO, we tell secrets, we don't tell secrets. There's this huge political like system and a lot of things, a lot of loose threads and ends. And this topic will be the same. It will be really difficult. There will be pros and cons and yes and no's and trying to work through the diplomacy and trying to work out how are you gonna, work with this. There's not an easy answer, not at all. It's going to be really super hard and difficult, but I don't think like pretending that we don't see this technology in the sky, that's not the way to go forward either, because it's just kind of ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, so it was wonderful to talking with you, and maybe we stay in touch. I mean, we follow the same accounts on Twitter, so we sometimes see each other and see the news in the first hand. And yeah, thank you so much for coming and
Thank
joining
you
me.
for having me.
Thank you, and see you.
Bye.